Chloe bristled. Well, tell him he can sit somewhere else, because these are our seats. Dad booked them for us. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but those seats are no longer available. I assure you, it's just for the duration of the flight. We'll get you back here as soon as we can. As in what? What does that mean? It just means we're going to move them back to row 27, the flight attendant said dismissively, starting to turn away. No, we're not, Chloe said, reaching out to grab her arm. What did you say? The flight attendant turned back, her smile gone, replaced by a look of cool fury. Let go of me right now, she hissed. Chloe opened her mouth to argue, but Maya reached out, laying a hand on her sister's arm. Don't, she said quietly. Then, louder, of course, we'll move. Let's go, Chloe. She pulled her sister up, helping her gather their things. As they moved toward the back of the plane, whispers started. The women in the aisle seat of 27, a young woman with bright pink hair and multiple piercings along with her companion, a man whose face was obscured by a hoodie, watched them approach. The two strangers looked at them with a mixture of triumph and smugness. The girl with the pink hair leaned forward. Oh, looks like someone's giving up their seats after all. You sure you don't want to switch back, lady? Your seats are up front where it's warm and cozy. She said this with a saccharine smile, a cruel lilt to her voice. Chloe shot back, eat shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Maya placed a restraining hand on her shoulder again, shaking her head slightly. Chloe, she said firmly. Before she could respond, Maya turned back to the girls. We're moving because my sister is uncomfortable. That's all. So we'd appreciate it if you'd keep it down back there. With that, she pushed past the pair and settled into the window seat of 27. Chloe took the middle, leaving the aisle seat empty. The stranger in the hoodie remained motionless, his gaze fixed on some unseen point beyond the window. It wasn't long before the woman with the pink hair started talking, her voice unnaturally loud. So yeah, I called ahead and told them about the whole situation. But honestly, they should just kick them off the flight. No big deal, right? Some people have connections. Maybe they can book them on a later flight or something. Yeah, maybe they could do that, the man in the hoodie said quietly. His voice was surprisingly deep. Chloe shot them a defiant look. You got me kicked off a flight once, she said loudly enough for them to hear. What was that supposed to mean? The girl scoffed. Oh, nothing. Just that sometimes people get what's coming to them. The man in the hoodie suddenly jerked his head up, his eyes flashing. That's enough, he snapped. Leave them alone. The girl looked taken aback by his sudden outburst. Hey, it's not like I was doing anything, she protested. You could at least pretend to be nice. We're stuck on a stupid plane with them. Might as well make the best of it, right? Just shut up, the man said gruffly. He turned back to the sisters, his expression softening. I apologize for her behavior. She doesn't always think before she speaks. Don't worry, Chloe retorted. She can't talk, so it's all good. The man shook his head with a wry smile. Smartass. The flight attendant came through the cabin, collecting meal orders. She gave the sisters a pointed look. You ladies wouldn't happen to have your original tickets on you, would you? She asked sweetly. Why would we have those? Maya responded coolly. Well, I just thought maybe you might want to fill them out since you are changing seats and all. No, thank you, Maya said. The attendant gave them both a look that could curdle milk before stalking off to the galley. "Great," Chloe muttered under her breath. Once she was out of earshot, the man in the hoodie turned to them. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked. "Your sister was right. You should switch back. I don't know what kind of trouble she stirred up, but I can talk to the attendants. Try to sort it out." "No, we're really fine," Maya assured him. "It's not a big deal, just some seats. And my dad will meet us wherever we land." The man looked unconvinced, but he finally nodded. "All right, let me know if you change your minds." He turned away, leaving the sisters alone with their thoughts. They spent the next hour lost in conversation, recounting the highlights of their trip and sharing their plans for the new year. The quiet murmur of the cabin, the gentle drone of the engines lulled them into a peaceful state. When they looked up, they realized they were making their descent into their city. They could see the sprawling network of highways, the twinkling lights of the downtown core, and the glimmering expanse of the river. It was a breathtaking view, a reminder of the beauty that surrounded them. The chaos of the flight attendants' attitude seemed a world away. They disembarked the plane, their steps light, their spirits high, ready to start their new year with a sense of quiet triumph. Despite the rocky start, they had made it home, an accommodation. Chloe's voice rose slightly, her suspicion immediately piqued. "What kind of accommodation?" The flight attendant's smile tightened. "I'm not at liberty to discuss that, ma'am. It's a privacy matter. We simply need you to move." Maya pulled one of her headphones out, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. She gave the flight attendant a calm, quizzical look. "We have assigned seats, ma'am. Is there a reason we can't just stay in them?" "This is a first-come, first-served situation, I'm afraid," the flight attendant said, a dismissive tone entering her voice. "And we are asking for your cooperation to make this flight go smoothly." "First come, first served," Chloe scoffed, her voice low and dangerous. "We were the first people to get on this plane in our section. Our boarding passes say Zone 1. We're not moving." A second flight attendant, a man with a stern face and an equally stiff demeanor, approached. "Is there a problem here, Sandra? These passengers are refusing to move." "Charles, the first flight attendant," Sandra replied, gesturing at Chloe. And Maya, as if they were a pair of unruly children. "I've explained that we need to accommodate another passenger, but they're being uncooperative." "Look," Chloe said, turning to him, "we have tickets for these seats. We're not causing a problem. You are." "This isn't a discussion," Charles said, his voice flat and condescending. "We are simply asking you to move. If you refuse, we will be forced to escalate the situation." "Escalate it," Chloe shot back, her blood beginning to boil. The implication was clear. They were being told to move because they were black. And the accommodation was for a white passenger who had just arrived at the gate and now stood in the aisle, looking impatient. He was a large man in a sharp suit, carrying a briefcase, and he gave them a long, appraising look. Maya, seeing the direction this was heading, put a hand on Chloe's arm. "Chloe, stop. Let's just talk to them." "No, Maya," Chloe whispered fiercely. "Don't you see what this is? We have our seats. We're not doing anything wrong, and they're threatening us, just because. ... double quotes. She trailed off, but the meaning was clear. "We don't have time for this," Charles said, his face darkening. "The plane is almost full. We'll have to have the pilot involved if you don't comply." The white passenger in the aisle cleared his throat loudly. "Is there a problem, sir?" he asked Charles. "I was told I could have these seats." "There's no problem, sir," Charles said, flashing a quick, appeasing smile. "Just a small misunderstanding. These two ladies will be moving shortly." At that moment, a deep, resonant voice cut through the tension. "I believe they are exactly where they are supposed to be." All eyes turned to the source of the voice. He was a tall, powerfully built man with broad shoulders and a commanding presence. He had just emerged from the jetway, a simple satchel slung over his shoulder, his face calm and unreadable. He was dressed in a dark, impeccably tailored suit, and he walked with a quiet, purposeful stride that seemed to part the sea of passengers. It was their father. Chloe's heart leaped with relief. She had never seen a man who could look so serene and so intimidating at the same time. He stood in the aisle, directly behind the man in the suit who was waiting for their seats. "Sir, you'll need to move," Charles, the male flight attendant, said without looking at him. "The aisle is a fire hazard." "I am aware of airline policy. Thank you," their father replied, his voice still low but with an undeniable edge. "My daughters, however, are seated." "Sir, these ladies are moving," Sandra, the first flight attendant, said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "You'll have to wait until we've resolved this." Their father didn't move. He simply looked at Charles and Sandra, his gaze holding theirs. It was a gaze that was accustomed to being obeyed, a gaze that had seen things and knew things that they could only dream of. "My daughters have a confirmed reservation for these seats," he stated simply. "I believe you'll find there has been no mix-up." "Look, buddy, I was told I could have these seats," the white passenger in the suit said, stepping forward. "Just have them move and we can all get on with our day." Their father turned his gaze to the passenger, a subtle shift that made the air feel even colder. "And who, exactly, told you that?" The passenger stammered. "The ticket agent. I was told these were available and that they would be a better fit." "Better for who?" their father asked, his voice still quiet. The question hung in the air, a razor-sharp blade. The passenger looked flustered and fell silent. He seemed to shrink under the weight of their father's gaze. Charles, seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, stepped in. "Sir, I am asking you one more time to take your seat so we can prepare for departure. The two ladies in 4A and 4B will be moved. That is the final word on the matter." Their father's expression didn't change. He calmly reached into his satchel and pulled out a small, unassuming black card. It had a gold eagle embossed on it and a simple, elegant logo. He held it out to Charles. Charles looked at the card, his face a picture of impatience. He didn't even take it, just waved it away. "I don't care about your VIP card, sir. You're holding up the whole plane." The father's lips curled into a faint, grim smile. "It's not a VIP card, son." He then turned to the other flight attendant, Sandra. "Sandra, is it? I believe you've spoken with the general manager." Sandra, caught off guard, shook her head. "I don't know what you're talking about." Just then, a pilot, a man with a grizzled face and a thick mustache, emerged from the cockpit, a look of profound annoyance on his face. "What is the holdup back here, Charles? We're already behind schedule." Charles and Sandra both stiffened. Charles pointed to their father. "Captain, this man and these passengers are refusing to comply with our instructions." The captain's eyes went from the agitated flight attendants to the calm man in the suit. His eyes widened. A look of dawning horror spread across his face, and his entire posture shifted. He didn't just stand straighter. He seemed to shrink into a subservient posture. He walked past Charles and Sandra, ignoring their protests, and stood before their father. General ... double quotes, he began, his voice a low, reverent whisper. Their father held up a hand. I prefer Mr. when I'm off duty, Captain. It's good to see the cockpit crew is so punctual. I was beginning to worry about your flight times. The captain swallowed hard. Sir, I had no idea. We were just informed you were on board. Their father's gaze flickered to Charles and Sandra. It seems my daughters were the ones who were made aware of that particular fact. Charles and Sandra's faces had gone ashen. Their smiles were gone, replaced by a look of sheer, unadulterated terror. The white passenger in the aisle, now understanding the situation, mumbled a quick apology and a never mind, I'll take my original seat, before slinking back down the aisle. Charles, Sandra, their father said, his voice now a quiet but firm command. I'm going to need you to move your passenger from row 27 to my confirmed seat, 4C, and then, I need you to find your next available seat and go there. I believe we have much to discuss with your general manager. The flight attendants didn't say a word. They simply nodded, their faces pale, and began to do as they were told. The captain, looking utterly mortified, made his apologies again, and quickly retreated to the cockpit. The silence that followed was deafening, the low hum of the plane's engines the only sound. The father sat down in his assigned seat, for C, next to his daughters. The plane's door closed, and the jet pushed back from the gate. He didn't say anything for a long moment, simply sat there, his hands resting on his knees. Chloe, still trembling with a mix of anger and awe, finally spoke. Dad, what was that? He turned to look at her, a hint of sadness in his eyes. That, sweetheart, was what happens when you believe you have more power than you truly do. That flight attendant and her supervisor thought they could get away with treating you that way because they did unsee me. They didn't see the truth of the situation. They only saw what they wanted to see. But who are you? Chloe asked, her voice hushed. He smiled, a gentle, tired smile. I'm the vice president of operations for this entire airline. And I am in charge of making sure my flight crews don't treat passengers with such blatant disrespect. Maya, who had been listening to everything, took her father's hand. Why didn't you tell them who you were? Because it wasn't about me, he said, squeezing her hand. It was about you. It was about seeing if they would do the right thing when no one was watching. And they failed. But you too, ... you did not. Chloe looked at her father, then at Maya. She was still angry, but now a profound sense of pride and vindication had settled over her. They had held their ground. They had been in the right, and their father, in his quiet way, had confirmed it. The flight attendant who had taken over for Charles and Sandra was a young, nervous-looking woman. She came by and, with a shaky hand, offered them a bottle of water, muttering a quiet apology that seemed to come from the heart, not a script. As the plane lifted into the air, the city below shrinking to a miniature tapestry of lights, the father looked out the window. We fight for what's right, not just because of who we are, but because of who we have to be for each other. Today, you two did that for yourselves. I'm proud of you. Chloe leaned her head on her father's shoulder, and Maya rested her head against his other side. The air in the cabin was now filled with the steady drone of the engines, a soothing, rhythmic sound. The earlier tension had dissipated, replaced by a quiet sense of victory and the warmth of family. They had stood up for themselves and, in doing so, had won more than just their seats back. They had won a small but important battle for dignity and respect. The flight home felt like a triumph.